friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kayla, and if you're not new, thanks for coming back. Always happy to have you. On this channel, I like to do a lot of book lifestyle content. Right now, I'm currently vlogging my unemployment experience. We're reading a lot of books because we're unemployed, and we're talking about them here on this channel. So if any of those things interest you, make sure you hit that subscribe button, join the crew. Today is my January wrap-up, okay? We're talking about all of the things that I read in January. I started 2023 off strong in terms of reading. I read 6 books in total, which I'm like, according to Goodreads, 3 or 4 ahead of schedule for my goal of reading 45 books in 2023. Read some good things, I read some not so good things. We're gonna talk about it. I read quite a bit. 5 of the 6 are here. This is the January reading. I am also at the end of this video gonna have some like nice b-roll footage of me filling out my always fully booked planner. They have monthly wrap-up pages and me setting up my February TBR, which my February TBR video is already live, so I will link that for you guys down below and in the cards so you can go check that out and see what I'm reading this month. I'm like pretty floored by how much I read this month, and I'm pretty proud of that. So we're just gonna roll with it and dive on in, and I'm really excited to share with you guys what I read in January. But let me know, what was your best read of January? What books did you get to? What did you love? What did you not love? Let me know all of that down in the comments. I think it makes sense in my brain to go in chronological order of what I read. The first thing I read was Red Queen. I started this at the end of December, and I finished it in January. I think I finished this like January 1st or something, like literally New Year's Day. I think I finished this book. I had like 200 pages left. I never read Red Queen. That was my first read of it. I know I'm way behind. Welcome back to 2016. We're here. We missed her. But Red Queen was the first book that I read. It is a YA fantasy about this girl named Mare, who is a red-blooded person with these mythical powers of the silver-blooded people, and she is kind of taken into the royal family of the Silvers to become a princess for them because they cannot explain how a person with red blood has these powers, and try and pass her off as a silver. She is also going to kind of secretly part of a rebellion of red-blooded people who are trying to rise against these silvers who've been oppressing them for so long, and she uses these powers to kind of undermine the silver royals. Along the way, there's kind of a romance triangle that's a little bit weird because 2 prongs of the triangle are brothers, so it's not really a triangle, it's like a fork. Mare has romantic feelings and inclinations with both the royal brothers, both the princes, one being the crown prince, one being this bear. It's very interesting. I gave this book a 5-star. I really liked the world. I liked the system. I hadn't ever tried to read this before, so I didn't really know what to expect, and I actually really liked it. I liked Mare as a character. I liked this kind of dichotomy between the red and silver people, and I'm very curious to see what happens in this world going forward in the second book, which I'm hoping to read this month. Be Still My Beating Heart, is 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson. I'm not going to talk about this book too much because I did do a whole review of 9 Liars by Maureen Johnson, which will be linked in the cards, but go check that out if you want all of my thoughts on this. This is the 5th installment of the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson, which is her YA mystery thriller series. It follows Stevie Bell, who's a high school student at Ellingham Academy, which is an academy for gifted or special students. And her gift is solving mysteries, and she goes to London to visit her boyfriend who's studying abroad for his first semester of college, meets his friends who have acquaintances involved in a murder 20-30 years ago, back in the 90s, where 2 people were murdered while 9 friends were traveling and staying at a country house in the English countryside. That was never solved, and Stevie and her friends go ahead and solve this mystery. This book was so good. I love every single Truly Devious book. Like, they can be honestly automatic 5-star reads for me. I love following along and seeing how Stevie unravels these mysteries. I love reading the documents that Maureen Johnson includes and just feel like I'm being taken along on this mystery. I love that these mysteries you cannot solve on your own. Maureen Johnson will not give you all of the pieces to solve this. You need to follow along with Stevie, and I love being taken along for that ride. I'm not smart enough to figure out the mystery. Clue, I cannot play. I'm so bad. So I like to have the pieces just given to me and be along for the ride, which is what this book was. I love her writing style. I love her characters. I love how they feel like real people. They have real dialogue. They are high schoolers that talk about real high schooler things like sex and drinking and all of these things. And it took place in the English countryside. It took place in London, which is like one of my favorite places in the whole world. It was phenomenal. 5-star read. I talked about it in my review. There is a big heart-shattering twist at the very end on the last page. I still remember the line, so beware, but go pick this up. This is amazing. This is already going to be in the top 10 of my reads for 2023. I can already tell. Next, we had a book that was one of my most anticipated reads for 2023. I also reviewed this book, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but we read The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is a Folk of Air spin-off duology that follows Oak and this girl Wren from the Court of Teeth. Really, Wren is being used by Oak, by other people, for her powers and her control of the Court of Teeth. She's the heir to the Court of Teeth, but she has run away from fairies. She wants nothing to do with fairies. She wants to be part of the human world, and she just can't get back to it. She doesn't really have a home in either, and it's a very, very sad journey where she's kind of falling in love with Oak, but also doesn't really know how to trust him and can't because he's actively using her for his own personal gain. Not a great time. We don't see Jude, we don't see Carden. This was honestly pretty disappointing for me. It wasn't my favorite. I had such high hopes for this because I loved the Folk of Air so much. It just fell flat for me. I think I really hoped it was going to be a continuation, a direct continuation of the Folk of Air, and it's not. It's 10 years later. We don't see the same characters. It's entirely focused on Oak and Wren. I just didn't love it. It just didn't hit for me. It felt very Spiderwick Chronicles though, if you enjoyed that. I gave this book 3 stars overall. I think the ending was pretty powerful. The last 150, 200 pages, no, last like 100 pages, 150 pages were phenomenal, were fantastic. A lot happens. We get a lot of respect for Wren. She really takes charge and becomes her own person in the last half of the book. However, it just overall still was a bit of a disappointment for me. So I give this book 3 stars, but I'm looking forward to reading the sequel eventually when it comes out next year. Not my favorite this month. Let me know if you liked it or not, and make sure you go check out my review to get all of my thoughts. From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I succumbed to From Blood and Ash. I did it. I got sucked in. I did the thing. I was bullied by a friend into reading this book because she loved it so much. I've seen it all over TikTok and I finally gave it a chance. I'm happy I read it. I liked it. I liked the first one. Didn't love the second one so much, but we'll talk about that in a bit. This was also the longest book I've read in probably 3 or 4 years. It was over 600 pages. I read it in like 4 or 5 days, which I feel like is pretty nuts. But yeah, it's mildly spicy. This follows Poppy, or Penelope, who is the maiden in this land of solace. She's supposed to be this like very pure, virginal, untainted figure who's going to be sacrificed as a servant to the gods on her ascension. There's also a rival kingdom of Atlanteans that are brewing resistance that she has to deal with. I think I posted a review for this yesterday, so make sure you check that out for all of my thoughts. It's a very long book. Writing style is a little bit iffy. I gave this book 4 stars overall. Really the first 350 pages, you're just kind of like waiting to see what happens, but that last half of the book, so much happens. It leaves you on a cliffhanger that you have to know what happens next to just want to dive right on into the second one, which is exactly what I did. But overall I gave this 4 stars for a new world, for that romance, that spiciness, but also just overall I enjoyed it. It was a good read. It kept my attention. The sequel, however, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, didn't love it as much. I don't have it because I did get it from my library through Libby. I read that probably in an equal amount of time, maybe like 3 or 4 days. We left off From Blood and Ash with a cliffhanger, so I dove right on in to A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Unfortunately, I just did not like that one as much. I got very frustrated with Poppy, who has been betrayed but goes back to the guy very easily without really giving him kind of without really making him work for it, kind of, which is unfortunate. There were also, by the end, so many just like things that she would throw in, like I'm trying not to spoil it, but like for instance, she's helping people and she has this power to heal people, and then all of a sudden one day she's glowing silver while she's healing someone. And I'm just like, where did this come from? Like, there were just things like that sprinkled in throughout this book. I just started rolling my eyes as these new random things kind of popped up into the book. It just wasn't my favorite. Overall, I was really kind of bummed about this, but there was of course a big twist at the end. That means that I already have the third one on my iPad from the library that I'm ready to read. I just am already seeing patterns of this getting old in these books. Throwing a bunch of things at the wall and seeing what sticks, and I don't love it. I personally don't love it, but I gave this book 3 stars overall. This one was even longer. It was 631 pages. It was a 3-star read for me, so we'll see if I even finish this series. It's not looking promising for me. Let me know, does it get better? And the last book that I read, which was a delightful beach read to be in Puerto Rico and to take to Puerto Rico with me, that was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I've never read Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was my first one, and I loved it. I thought this was so well paced. It was so well thought out. I love the kind of dual timelines, different perspectives. This follows Nina Riva, who is the daughter of a very famous singer, Mick Riva, and her 3 siblings who she has kind of had to parent while her mother fell apart with her dad's cheating and his leaving, her drinking. Nina has kind of been the guiding light and parent for her whole family of siblings who are all in love with the sea, in love with surfing. It follows their lives as they're all kind of like entering this new phase and new chapter, where Nina's just been left by her husband, very reminiscent of her mother's timeline. But at the same time, they're all entering this new chapter of their lives, but they're all working towards something that they've been doing every single year, which is a big Riva house party on the beach in Malibu. The setting was incredible. It made me feel like I was in Malibu. It was so perfect to read on the beaches of Puerto Rico. Loved it. I love these characters. I love their intertwinedness, their interconnectedness. I loved how it also follows like 12 hours from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. of this party, but also flashes back in time and jumps forward to the party. A complicated structure to really follow 4 characters and 2 different timelines, or multiple different timelines. It's complicated, but was very easy to read. Honestly, I feel like I haven't had a book like this in a while, but it felt very unputdownable. Like, I would start reading and I would need to know what was happening, and I would, before I knew it, read like 90 pages or 100 pages, 165 pages. So I flew through this book. I think I read this maybe in 2 or 3 days, especially while being on vacation, which is like busy and you're doing stuff. I feel like that's pretty good. But I loved this book. I gave this 4 stars, I think. There were a couple things I would have changed, but I'm still haven't made a review for this. Let me know if you would like to see a review of Malibu Rising, and I can dive into all of those thoughts. But this was a great first Taylor Jenkins Reid. A couple of our other books are loosely entwined with this book, or the characters in this book. For example, Mick Riva is a husband for the 7 husbands of Elizabeth Hugo, and Carrie Soto is back. Carrie Soto is featured in this book as well, which I think is really cool and really interesting. So let me know what your favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book is in the comments down below. Overall, we read 6 books. We read 2,614 pages. My favorite book this month was, without a doubt, hands down, 9 Liars. Like I said, already going to be on my top 10 of 2023. I read 5 books physically, 5 physical books, 1 ebook, and I read fantasy, fiction, and mystery and thriller. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm good with that progress for now. Can't say that I will read as much in February. I'm hoping to. I've already read a book and it's February 3rd. So we'll see. That is my January wrap up. I'm going to insert some b-roll of me filling out this planner, getting it all wrapped up for 2023 for January. I can't believe 1 month is already down. I truly can't believe it, but it was a good month. It was a weird month, but it was a good month overall. 1 month down, 11 more to go. Let's make 2023 the best year yet. Let me know what you read in January, what you really liked or what you didn't like. Let me know in the comments down below, and leave me a star emoji down below to celebrate that this was a shining month. And I will see you in my next video. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. Happy reading, and I'll see you over on Instagram at Royreadingco. Bye.